What's going on, Wise Take Nation? Welcome to the Week 4 NFL podcast. I am your host, Mr. Paulie D, and I'm joined by my good friend, Patio Joe. What's going on, Patio?
Not much, man. It's another week. We're already week 4, quarter of the season throughout this season. It goes by fast, and but it's been fun. I really feel like there's some good numbers on the teams right now, and we kind of know how teams are, and it's kind of where we want to attack and where we don't want to attack, and
that's like a big buzz, topic in the end. Are we moving over to 2018 statistics? Are we going to rely on what we've seen so far? And what do you think? Do you think you just?
I go by my ISC right now. Yeah. I shift over. I
think it's like a combination. Some of the things we've seen are not gonna continue. You know what I mean? Things are gonna change. So just going off of 2018's numbers is maybe not completely the best approach. I think you look into 2018 and then try to decide if you believe in what that is, try to find supporting evidence. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of a good example. The Dolphins 3-0 and having pretty good defensive numbers right now. Do you think that's real?
No, it's not. So they played 2 home games against subpar teams,
Right. So right now, if you're looking at that Patriots-Dolphins game, which we'll talk about later, the numbers say don't really pick on the Dolphins secondary. I'm saying I could play Tom Brady against the Dolphins for sure. You know what I mean? So there's things that are legit, there's things that are not, but you got to really interpret that yourself and decide, is this a legitimate trend or is this just variance?
Follow the injuries these days too, because when these secondaries are just depleted left and right, that's when you need to attack them, and hopefully it's a game where both sides are going to be going back and forth like tonight's game, man. That was an awesome game. Finally, a Thursday. Wow. Awesome. That Rams offense is just going on all cylinders. And like I was saying before, Jared Goff, I think, is just a cash game quarterback for the rest of the year. He could just distribute. He's got all 3 of those receivers involved. Gurley had 156 yards from scrimmage. He didn't even know it, and a touchdown. He got his too. I mean, that offense is just going to be tough to stop. Couple weeks they play the Chiefs. That's going to probably be the most highest owned game in the history of football, DFS football. I mean, you're just going to want to say, how can I fade this game? But that's going to be interesting. It's in KC. So you just hope that both teams are healthy then, and you can really see what happens.
Yeah, you don't miss a play or two that could impact that game. But I think overall injuries are somewhat down a little bit this year. There hasn't been no.
No, we hope stay that way. You know what I mean?
And I think some of that's the rule changes, but those rule changes have also increased scoring. This season's scoring is just so far up as compared to other seasons, and a lot of that has to do with how the sensitifying of the game, essentially. There's not as many hard hits. You get penalized for doing anything pretty much physical, and it's just leading to a lot more penalties and a lot more scoring.
Well, and every penalty on defense seems to me like it's an automatic first down too. Yeah. So it's it just continues drives. Third down, 5-yard illegal contact on it's 3rd and 20, and they get a 5-yard illegal contact. Automatic first down, continues the drive, and it's just, that's the frustrating part. And you guys know I'm a referee, so I will defend the referees, but even I look at some of these penalties and I'm just they show you, okay, this is going to be called, then I want to see the exact same play done right. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Show us the exact same play done the right way, because what Clay Matthews did, I felt like he was even trying to let up.
Which knowing one? Last week, first thing, or the 2 weeks
last
ago?
Week. last week. Like, he literally tackled him, and the first thing he did was look up, thinking, "Oh my God, is he going to give me a penalty on this?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what am I supposed to do?" Like, it's just crazy to me, you know. And I think that it's getting to a point where you should just like put your hands up and then just touch the quarterback like this, and then you should be down. Like, no, you're down. You know, it's like, why not?
You see that thing on Twitter that went viral with like the girl and his boyfriend? That's pretty much what it's come down to. And you know, hopefully either the refs get better at managing that or not, or you know, the NFL loosens up on the rule a tad, realizes what they're expecting, because that's a shame. You know, like just seeing flags dictate games, that's the worst, based on hitting too hard in a violent sport. It's just, I don't know. I really
brought this up last week. I'm like, it might be the time where we want to spend up more on our receivers because they're getting more of an emphasis these days. It's just more. You know,
that's like, I do still agree with you, but last week really, you know, doesn't say that. Shout out to the Wise Take Nation who went last week in NFL, and Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley were, you know, the keys to victory, two cheap receivers. But continue.
Yeah, I had Tyler Boyd in my cash game team last week, and he did awesome. And I had Ridley in 2 or 3 of my GPP's teams. Finished 4th in one tournament. Did well in the early only tournament. Had probably my best week of the year so far, which was good. And it's getting to the point where it's like, make your cash team, and then like, to me, I just pick the games out I want to stack, and then that's how I'm going to attack it, and then just fill in. And no more like random, just like, you know, like
it's
putting teams together.
It's much stacking in every sport. Like, you need correlation. Game flows correlate, player scoring correlates, and like everyone is using that. So like you're at such risk of not keeping up with like the upside of that strategy. So you have to be stacking in football. It's just,
because you're either gonna hit the nuts and win, or you're not, and that's our point in GPPs. You know, cash. Yeah. I mean, my cash game lineup smashed too. So cash game is just about
smash.
What's up? Yeah, did well. Yeah, it was a good week. So, but this week it's like my volume might be down just because there's not 4 or 5 games I want to stack. There's only like maybe 3 at the most, maybe 4 at the most.
It changes this week.
Yeah,
buys, like, it's still a 12-game slate, but that's because there's only 2 games on a bye. But like, you know, there's less opportunity, and they just like, we're losing 2 really good games, at least definitely Sunday night, the Steelers, Ravens. Like, the Steelers, the Chiefs, those are like offenses that, you know, suck up a lot of the ownership in DFS.
And these games, they're just came tonight too.
Yeah, tonight, the Vikings, the Rams. So you take out a couple teams, and like the slate definitely takes on a different personality than some other weeks. You know, like I agree. Like, I think this is similar to week 1. And you're gonna get a ton of Kamara and Gio, you know, chalk 2 running back pairings. You know what I mean? Similar to Connor and Kamara week 1, and it's, you know, it's hard to really disagree with that. But ownership, like what you talking about, like that there's only a couple games you want to stack with a couple very, very chalky likely pairing at running back. You know, it does like leave a lot of opportunity in those other games, stacking them if they go off. You know, like there's a couple, you know, we're going to cover a couple, but realistically, like there's not, is there even a 17-point favorite this week like we had last week? There's not really.
There's a 10-point favorite. We have the Chargers over the Niners for 10 points.
Right?
And
that's the biggest one.
We'll talk. I said, we talked earlier about this game. And the Charger defense have not stopped anybody except for the first half of the Buffalo game. So this defense, like, I know that's not the Rams or the Chiefs, so they probably faced the 2 best offenses in the league in the first 3 weeks. But I think that the Chargers always seem to keep a team around.
And,
sure. You know, to where people think that Rivers may not have like this big ceiling game. I still think he's playing in the fourth quarter, and I think that they're still throwing. I think that we got Gordon and Eckler and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. You kind
So
of
I
know where
heard
they're
Keenan's
going now.
banged up.
He's
Is he done?
questionable, but I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be fine.
Okay.
Mike Williams is the guy that they're really pumping up this week. He's
Mhm.
got a good price on FanDuel. I don't mind his price, even as one-offs. We saw. Did you see that pass that Rivers had to him last week? It was pretty sweet.
I
It was
did.
a bomb.
So
Yeah.
Mike Williams, like, he's taken Hunter Henry tight end role in that offense, right?
Yeah.
And there's like you see that with Quincy Enunwa with the Jets because they don't have any real athletic tight ends. And I think that's like a trend in offenses now. The slot, you either have like a quick slot like Julian Edelman that or Kamara even that you're like screen gaming upfield with, or you get these big receivers that you're just making into tight ends essentially over the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Williams is definitely that. And like a guy that I think has a lot of touchdown upside. Like his red zone work, the likelihood of them going to him increases, and he's got athleticism to make plays all over the field. So he's a cheap receiver I really like.
Yeah, I like. There's some good. There's a couple guys in the 5,800 range this week that I'm really into. Tyler Boyd again, Sterling Shepard, and Kenny Galladay, I think, is also going to be a good play today. But I also think people gotta lay off a little bit. This Dallas secondary is a little bit better than people think.
Dallas defense, I mean, they brought a ton of pressure against the Giants. But let's jump into the slate. We want to talk about a couple games like the early. Well, I'll start with the one in the early portion, and it's the Atlanta Falcons hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. The game opened as the Falcons 5.5-point favorites. It's down to 4, and the total is just skyrocketed. It opened at 48. It's up to 53. It's only Thursday. Could go higher. Like, this is one of those chalky stack spots you were talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I know that you're not much of a quarterback, running back correlation on teams, but
no, I don't mind it. I don't mind that. I played Cam and C-Mac last week, and it worked out just fine. I'm fine with a quarterback, running back.
I think Dalton and Gio this week are pretty damn. You can lock them both in cash games too. Dalton's my cash game quarterback, and you couple the usage he's going to get on the ground, with the passes that he's just going to get out of the backfield. I love it. And then you take Tyler Boyd, who runs 67% of his routes out of the slot, and he's facing a cornerback rated 94th out of 104. I forget his name, but I read the stat today. So he's running 67% out of the slot. That's going to be an easy matchup. Two of the safeties for the Falcons are done for the year, as well as Deion Jones. It just sets up for a great game for the Bengals, even if they're down, because on the other side, you got Julio, you got Calvin Ridley, you have Tevin Coleman. Matt Ryan seems to be really producing last few weeks. This game has got all written all over it. Don't sleep on Tyler Eifert. Also, he's been way more involved in the offense, and especially if AJ Green, who's questionable, I think he's going to play. He's out. They're going to lean on Eifert even more. But I like Eifert as a GPP play too, because he's the type of guy in FanDuel you love, because he might not catch you 10 balls, but he's going to catch you 4 balls, 40 yards with 2 touchdowns. And that's good at his price. He's like 4,700. It's really cheap.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, if AJ Green is out, all the players in the Cincinnati receiver core, including tight end and running back, just are underpriced. You take out a guy like AJ Green, and all these guys are priced, for him to be there. Every single one of them has massive upside now. In this kind of game, it's just everyone. Ross, the receiver, Boyd, Eifert, which is a great call. He's cheap AF, and
Uzomah
and
is
Gio.
4,700.
Uzomah
is more than Eifert.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. If you had one stack to make, would you go with the Rocket, Gio, AJ Green, or if he doesn't play one of his other receivers, tight end, or the Ryan, Coleman, Julio, or Ridley? Which side would you go first?
Well, I mean, right now I have a stack of Dalton, Gio, and Boyd with no AJ Green, but then I have Julio and Calvin Ridley on the other side to bring it back for the game stack. So
Okay.
that's what I have.
4 of these guys in one team.
Yeah. So that's what I have on that. Like if that's what I pick, I think it's just because like Dalton is a little bit cheaper than Ryan, and I think he has just as high a ceiling as Ryan. I mean, a couple rushing touchdowns you just can't, that he takes. And then Julio, I think Julio has the number one air yards of anybody in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
So
I think he does. I think he does.
like keep fading and whatever. He's still going to go off. He's still going to get his. Ridley's going to come back down there. He's not going to catch 3 touchdowns like he did last week. So, I think that's a good stack. I like that. That would probably be my Dalton, Geo, and Boyd. That's what I kind of like. It fits better than because I want to play Julio instead of Green. It just brings it back that way.
So if Green plays, he's like the odd man out for you?
Yeah.
Is that because of the injury or no?
It's more of just price. Just like in the next game we're going to talk about, another guy I'm fading right now just because it's just you have to pick somebody. If you're going to fade somebody in this game, you're going to have to pick somebody to fade and hope they don't blow up because you can't play them all. So that's who I'm fading in this game. Plus, he's also and he does have a little bit of a hamstring, so you can never know how much that's going to affect him.
I mean, I agree. If he was healthy and not a hamstring, you know what I mean, like a bruise or something, I'd be interested in him because I think he's going to go way under-owned. And he's balled out so far. You know what I mean? And this game projects to be, the fastest, highest-scoring Bengals game. But I would prefer for him to get ruled out and just to kind of like late become a really just a goodie bag of value, like late, like 20 minutes before lock. And pivot, have like those Bengal value pivots ready to jump on.
They said that he's a full participant today.
Yeah, like it's unlikely, you know what I mean? But I would love it. Because hamstrings you can tweak on a Saturday. Someone last week just, jumped on the injury thing. It was the Eagles running back. He actually ended up playing, but remember we went into the weekend with like a
Clement,
Clement, a leg injury, but. I'm gonna play Julio. Like there is one of the better man-to-man corner or D-backs, cornerbacks on the Bengals, but I will have some Julio. But the Falcons side is my least interested. I'd rather have the Bengals and the value, or just Geo. You know what I mean? Like I don't need the Falcons. There's a chance the Falcons win convincingly. I don't know. I like the other game better, so I'm going to have less of this one. It's kind of like last week where you had the Chiefs-San Fran game, you had the New Orleans Falcons game, and it was like, which one's more likely to stay close, which one's not? I don't know. I think the other one's more likely to stay close, and that is my New York Giants.
What do you think about Dalton and Cash?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. I don't think I'll go there, but
he's cash play on FanDuel, to be honest with you, just at price and stuff like that. You could fit in a lot of whoever you want if you're gonna go because he's only 7,400. That's pretty cheap, I don't know. We'll go when we talk about our top threes. We'll talk about it. But there's just, Anyways, let's talk about this other game.
Yeah. So the Giants, they're hosting this New Orleans. They're back to the New Orleans Saints of old, just throwing the ball and. It's been exciting, and they have no defense again, which is a change from last year. You look at last year's numbers, and the Saints D seems viable in this game. If you look at this year, you like the Giants offense. But anyhow, the line hasn't moved. It's just Saints 3.5-point favorites on the road. The total opened at 49.5. It's up to 50. What do you like here?
I mean, this was a game. What was it? 2 years ago, they played like a classic down in.
New Orleans. Yeah. But it was in New Orleans. Yes.
Yeah, it was a classic. It was
they played last year too, and it was a low-scoring game.
Yeah. This game has it's easy. It's two things. You know who you want to play, so that's a good thing. But you can't fit everybody in. Yep. You can't fit everybody you want in. You can't fit Kamara, Barkley, Thomas. Odell. You can't fit them all in.
No.
Eli or Bree. So right now it's easier to make a team with Eli as your quarterback. You go with Kamara and Thomas, Saquon on the other side, and then I'm fading Odell on this one team, putting Sterling Shepard on it, and then I have a dart throw now. I probably through this we talked about it again. I have a dart throw right now at Red Ellison if you're gonna game stack it, but I'm just saying I tried. I'm like, let me see how I can make a game stack on this game, and that's how I came to it. Like, the only other way you could do it, you could fade both the quarterbacks and put Odell in there, and then go for a lower quarterback such as Tannehill, or Mayfield, something like that. You don't want to go really low, but you want to go right around that area. Okay.
Yep. There's definitely some cheaper quarterbacks, but Eli's cheap too on DraftKings. He's expensive on FanDuel.
He's 7,100 on FanDuel, which is
my goodness. But that's high. That's high
for Eli.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, he's got no rushing upside, but I mean, quarterbacks against the Saints have just been, working so far. I mean, Matt Ryan, he had the 2 rushing 2 weeks ago, and then everyone's like, oh, he's not going to do that again. And he just threw for 4 or 5 at a massive fantasy day. I love the Giants here. They've improved every week kind of quietly. I don't think many people have much respect for them. And they beat Houston on the road last week. They have a completely new coaching system, head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. That's going to take a little time to come together, but I like the progression. I love that they went and beat the Texans on the road, because I think the Texans are healthy and very good. So a team that can't play defense, like Eli Manning loves these kind of shootouts, and he's got talent to distribute the ball, as long as we can pass block. And the Saints pass rush is not very good. I think we stay close. I love Eli on DraftKings cheap, paired up with, definitely Shepard at 4.9, and then either OBJ or Saquon, and I'll have both, but definitely like that. And I'm just running it back with just Kamara, maybe a couple Thomases, but I don't know. I kind of think this is going to be like a
come down to earth game for Thomas.
A little bit for everyone except Kamara. He's just if I believe the Giants stay in it, or have a lead, just that's that kind of game. He got 21 targets and carries last week. He's just getting too much volume, and I'm not fading that guy in a game that I'm game stacking.
I mean, Michael Thomas has also caught 38 out of 40 targets. So
he certainly has, but he does have a tough matchup, and
Malcolm Jenkins, right?
No, not Malcolm Jenkins, the Jackrabbit. Janoris Jenkins.
Right? Jenkins. I'm sorry. I got my Jenkins wrong.
Yep, Malcolm, you were close. So I definitely like this game. It'll be my highest owned. Last week, I ended up pivoting to the Breeze Saints combo. I had a good week as well. And earlier in the week, I was more on the Mahomes train, and I did still play a lot of Kelsey, but that game just looked like it was going to stay closer. The San Fran one with the Chiefs just had a much better chance of not, and that's what ended up happening. The Chiefs just kind of coasted. Mahomes still had a really good day, but just not the ceiling game that this game provided. Did you see
Garoppolo getting hurt?
Yeah, that hurt. That just kind of.
And then the first 2 drives for the Chiefs, though, they ended on the 1-yard line, and Kareem Hunt rushed.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt. So. But they still didn't throw to Kareem Hunt.
But we knew that was going to happen eventually. He wasn't going to get all these touchdown pass opportunities. They were going to get some. They were going to fall in the run it, and they're going to run it in, and that's how it was going to happen. So, So I think this game is just probably the game of the day. I think everybody's going to go to this game more. That's why I like Cincinnati, Atlanta too. Also. But those are going to be the 2 most owned games. Definitely. So that's where everybody's going to go. So if you want to get off the board and just you can game stack another game and then be completely chalky everywhere else with the most chalkiest plays, you can fill in Kamara and Shepard and get a piece of that game.
Yep.
And then fill in somewhere else.
Yep.
What are maybe 2 other games to think of? I'm thinking of either Miami, New England. I don't think you should sleep on that game. And I also think Cleveland and Oakland. That's those 2 games I'm looking at.
Cam the Doctor likes the Patriots side, and Patriots like historically, like pretty much every time this is like a get right game for them. Like they've only lost 2 in a row, like I don't know, 3 times in Belichick's history. So they've owned the Dolphins for the most part. Like I don't see how this isn't a nice, at least offensive game for the Patriots. And then maybe the Dolphins hang in there because they're 3-0 and like they got a little bit of confidence, and confidence in sports, like that's a good thing to have. It could, and the Patriots defense is terrible, so I'm with that game for sure. I like Gronk a ton. I do see that he's got like an injury designation. We'll see what that is, but
he always does.
Yeah, like if he's playing, he's owned the Dolphins, and so like I like him as a one-off player where I don't have anything else in this game. I'm going to make effort to probably play him. And then I also, because I like him, I'm probably going to throw Brady on a team. And now with the running back getting put on like the IR, what's his name? Burkhead. We got a cheap option in
Sony Michel or James White.
Either, but Sony Michel for sure, because he's real cheap and he's got the ground and the passing game upside. Like,
what's his price on DraftKings? Because on FanDuel, he's a little bit more expensive than I thought he would be. James White 6,100 and Sony Michel is 5,900, which is not that cheap. You know what I mean? Like,
that,
On
DraftKings, Sony Michel is 4,500, which is the same price James Conner was week 1. And against so the Dolphins this year, going by this year's defense, like numbers, their pass defense has been awesome. Their secondary, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Xavier, just been like locked down, so going by that, maybe this is an opportunity on the ground for the Patriots, and like that can happen, and if it's working, they'll just stick with it. 4-5, he's involved in the pass game, like he is going to be really tough to pass up, like definitely including him in that stack, in my opinion. James White, he's one-dimensional, and like now they add another receiving target in
Josh Gordon.
Yeah, Josh Gordon, and you got just too many options really for Brady to throw to, and like that's all you're relying on him with White. With Sony Michel, you have the Gronk got tackled at the 1, and now he runs it in and passing game, like. And he's cheaper by 900 on DraftKings. So, like that. And then on the Dolphins, like, I don't really like playing Tannehill, but you can play Tannehill. He's like a tad cheaper than Eli Manning. And you pair him up with Kenyon Drake and Kenny Stills, I think. Like, there was a couple fluke touchdowns last week with, like, Wilson. But I think in this game, it's going to be, like, the star players on the Dolphins have to make plays. So, I'd probably look at Kenyon Drake or no Kenyon Drake, but just Tannehill and Stills to get cheap, and then afford Kamara and some of those other players that I still want. Because that's where I'm looking at what games to approach is which game offers me a cheap quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end stack that, like, if it's cheap and the game has upside, I'm really enticed by it. If it's expensive, then I don't really like it. Like, the Rodgers to Devontae Adams, like Green Bay in a possible smash spot against Buffalo spot. That makes me pay up, and then I can't get Kamara. So, like, the Dolphins, because they're cheap, is enticing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. And, going on that, piggyback on that topic of cheap quarterback, running back, receiver, I'm not really one to say this, but are we cooking something up? Are we baking something on Sunday with Baker Mayfield, Carlos Hyde, and Jarvis Landry? They're pretty cheap. We got Baker Mayfield at 6,900, Carlos Hyde at 6,800, Jarvis Landry at 7,000 on FanDuel. Here's my thing about Carlos Hyde, and here's why I like him this week. One, he's been getting the lion's share of the carries. Don't think Nick Chubb is going to cut into any of that. Duke Johnson has his own role doing something else. Baker Mayfield, it's his first start. Hugh Jackson is not going to want to have him throw the ball 45 times on Sunday if they don't want to. So they're going to want to.
They're underdogs. They're on the road, and they're 3
They're going to want to run the ball with high against the Raiders defense is not very good.
Uh-huh.
And I love Jarvis Landry with that. And if you didn't want to do Landry and you wanted to go Njoku, go for it, because Njoku matched his production of the season in like one quarter with Mayfield. He caught like 2 passes for 40 yards, and he had 40 yards leading up to that. So Njoku might get all of a sudden become relevant again now. On the other side of the Raiders, I like you bring it back with, I think, I'm not an Amari Cooper guy, but I think it might be an Amari Cooper week.
Uh-huh.
And I think that you could play Derek Carr with it if you wanted to, instead of Mayfield. He's only $100 more on FanDuel. And then on you could also do Marshawn Lynch if you think the Raiders are going to be ahead and they could run the ball out. But if you think if they're behind, you can go with the third down back. I forget his name. Jalen Richard.
Richard, yeah.
Maybe Jordy Nelson. I think he's had his one good game of the year. That's about it.
So I like a lot in this game. I still have a little bit more digging to do. By Saturday in my article, I definitely will have something about this game. Like, I like the idea of Mayfield. I mean, he came in the third quarter and he threw for 200 yards. Like, that offense, it's like, so in my mind, that offense just went from Alex Smith Chiefs to Pat Mahomes Chiefs, right? And like, I think there's a ton of upside, and I want a piece of everybody on the Browns. Like Mayfield, I love Antonio Callaway. He's 4-3. He's this week's like Calvin Ridley play, in my opinion, against the Raiders secondary that's not very good. I love Jarvis Landry because of target upside. So like, I could go Baker, Jarvis, and Callaway. I could go Baker. I love Njoku, who's really cheap. We saw Baker throw 2 touchdowns to him in one preseason game. Like, he's crazy cheap. He opens up so much going Mayfield, Njoku, and then really anyone else. You know what I mean? Like, you could talk yourself into, pairing Hyde with them, who's going to be involved in the pass game. Like, Duke Johnson could come out of nowhere and do well too. You know what I mean? But his usage is way down. But like, that happens in DFS. The guy that like is trending the wrong way, all of a sudden snaps in, has like a good game. You know what I mean? So there's a lot. There's just a lot to like.
You could also bring it back with Jared Cook on the other side, who double tight end.
Cook is a phenomenal play.
Browns have historically been bad against tight ends. I don't know how they've done this year so far, but historically they've been bad against them.
So what's his name? Enunwa last week had his way, and that's essentially the Jets tight end. They played the Saints. Watson had a couple drop touchdowns, but other than that, he didn't really do much. And then week 1, they played the Steelers, and I don't think anyone had too good of a game. But, this is like the first, and the value is just so like, the upside is so high that it's just like worth taking a shot on an Njoku, and then on DraftKings or FanDuel, you could do double tight end value and just stack these two guys up and have a lot of money for the skill position. So I like the Cleveland side, but I also like the Raiders side. Like, Carr has been efficient this year. He had a 29 for 32 game, 2 weeks ago. Like, he's got weapons out there. He's got Cook. He's got Amari. Like, even Freak Mode, Beast Mode has been kind of doing well for them. And he's been involved in the pass game. He's been involved in red zone targets and red zone rushing. So Marshawn Lynch is another Raider that is interesting. But I got to dig into the Cleveland defense, see where they're strongest, where they can be attacked. And then on the other side, I like a lot of Cleveland, and that's just been a long time since I said that. I'll tell you that. So let's just run through the positions, I guess, and then we'll get out of here. But those are like the 4 games, that have some cheap upside and the games that could shoot out. And then the 2 main games, that's our thoughts. Give me like top 3 quarterbacks, or give me a cash quarterback and your favorite GPP quarterback.
Cash quarterback, I like Andy Dalton. My other quarterbacks for the week, though, Drew Brees and Eli Manning.
All right. Eli Manning's probably my favorite quarterback, like for value and upside. And then probably that's like my GPP guy. And then in cash, I think I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield, to be honest. But maybe I'll pivot up to Andy Dalton. We'll see. What about running back?
Running backs, obviously Alvin Kamara is the number one running back. Gio Bernard's number two. Number three, it's kind of up in the air right now, but I'm going to go with Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard. All right. Against Tampa Bay. I mean, that's a pretty good front, but I mean, I could see it. They're gonna want to run the ball, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, Kamara is just cash play, GPP play him pretty much a lot. He's gonna. I don't think I'll go 100% on him because his ownership, it's like worth fading, and if he busts, you have those teams with upside, but probably like 60-40, 60% Kamara this weekend. And then I'm cool with Gio, but I do like the Sony Michel, like value pivot. Maybe I play 3 running backs and play all 3. And then in GPPs, like Saquon and Zeke Elliott are the guys that I'll be kind of pivoting in and trying to pair. Receivers loaded. What's a couple of your favorite guys there?
Receiver, Michael Thomas up at the top. I don't care. Like he's still. I'm just the numbers until he puts it down. He's number one for me. Number two, I'm gonna go with Will Fuller. He's got 6 games now with over 100 yards. 100 yards in yards games, another 100-yard games, and 9 total touchdowns now in 6 games. And then number 3, Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, I definitely like Sterling Shepard. Up top for me, it's Odell and DeAndre Hopkins. Those are like my 2 favorite pay-ups. In the middle, it's like Devontae Adams and probably Kenny Galladay. And then for cheap, I love Antonio Callaway. And I think Taylor Gabriel is an interesting high upside. Like we've seen him do it with the Falcons. You know, slot kind of tight end. Middle of the field is where you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense right now. So Taylor Gabriel for 3.7 on DK is another value receiver that has like Calvin Ridley kind of upside, I think. Tight end, what are you doing? This position has been dominated by a expensive tight end all 3 weeks. Like Kelsey, even though he didn't score a touchdown, had a huge week last week. It was Gronk in week 1, Kelsey in week 2. There's been like 1 or 2 random cheap guys, but most of the value tight ends have been busting. Who do you like in this position?
I like Trey Burton. You just said how you beat Tampa is over the middle.
Yep.
So Taylor Gabriel is going to be doing quick maybe, and then we have Trey Burton as a tight end. I like George Kittle. We all know that the new quarterback of the Niners, we won't name him. He went to school with George Kittle.
At what school?
Iowa.
Good call.
And I really like Jared Goodcall. He's going up against his defense that is gonna, we've known that he can beat. And I also think GPPs, Tyler Eifert too don't sleep on him.
I like the Tyler Eifert call. Even with AJ Green, like he's cheap enough and his probability of scoring a touchdown is high enough that I like him in a high scoring game, So like last week in this game, we found Calvin Ridley, a secondary option. I like the idea of finding a secondary option in this similar kind of shootout possible game. Up top, it's Gronk. Like he's dominated Miami and the Patriots need to win. And I just see Tom Brady throwing to his good old friend, Mr. Gronkowski, a lot against the Dolphins where he's just dominated. And otherwise, I'll go down. And all the guys you mentioned are fine. I like Jared Cook and Eifert a lot. I like Njoku, and I like O.J. Howard, who's really been involved in the Tampa Bay offense. And I expect the Bears to bring a lot of pressure with Khalil Mack. and for the Bucks to have to kind of check down a little bit. Like they want to air it out, but that the Steelers game, like the Steelers kept bringing pressure, and they ended up going a lot of 2 tight end sets with Brait and OJ Howard, and OJ Howard is just an athlete, so I like him for cheap as well. Defenses.
Defense up at the top. I like the Jags. I'm fading the Chargers D. They haven't stopped anybody. I don't care. Yeah. I'll just fade them, and just I think they're going to be, they're going to be a chalky defense. I'm going to fade it. I like the Bears defense. I think that the Bears, they're going to just be too much pressure. We saw the beginnings of the Tannehill regression. He came back and he did great, but he put himself in that position. So, as long as they don't get beat deep and they keep everything in front of them, that's what Fitzpatrick. I said Tannehill. We saw the Fitzpatrick regression. Fitzpatrick is going to be in trouble this week too, I think, with this Bears defense. And then down below, if you want to save some money, I like this Dallas Cowboys defense against Detroit. I think there's a mirage that happened last Saturday or last Sunday. Nobody's saying that the coach for Matt Patricia was in New Orleans for years, or New England for years. Yeah. He knows how to beat them. He probably knows how the best defenses, how to stop them. So those are my 3 defenses that I really like. Okay.
I would be too scared to play the Cowboys defense. I do think they're decent, but Matt Stafford's a vet, man, and he's just been good for too long. He's been doing this a long time. He's going to be on turf. They got 3 really talented receivers.
But we've seen a bad game from him. We know.
Yeah, against the Jets, week 1,
it could happen. You got to look
possible. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying me personally that I played Dallas last week and they failed, and they just had a 0 floor possibility. They just didn't get pressure on the quarterback. So I'm not sold that their defense is great yet, and I'd rather take them against an Arizona instead of an offense that I do respect and think that special teams kind of changed that Jets game. If I'm going low, I think I would. I mean, on DraftKings, Chicago's defense is 2,600.
Oh wow, that's right.
And I don't really love that. I know it's terrible. I don't love it, honestly. I actually think Fitzpatrick and receivers, I think they could beat up this offense. I think they're running really well. And, as chalky as that's going to be, it does have floor. They're going to get sacks. Fitzpatrick was just under pressure so much against the Steelers. And this Bears defense is very similar, and it's fast. So I definitely, respect that play, and we'll have a little. At the top end, I'm going to play Jacksonville against the Jets. You kind of have to have a little bit of that, best play spot on your team because they could go off. I mean, it's a rookie quarterback. It's not the greatest line. They're home. You got to have a little bit of that. And then maybe I can get behind.
What about the other side of that game? The Jets D.
Yes, the Jets defense. We don't know Fournette's status, and we saw them perform against
6 points against the Titans.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I like the Jets. I do, and you know what? Their price is probably low. Yeah, 2,400. Definitely viable. Absolutely, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna do it for this week. The nation had an amazing week 3, 5-figure winners multiple times, which was awesome. A bunch of deep 4-figure winners. Shout out to those guys. No pressure this week on us to just deliver again. But there's a good momentum going on in that Slack chat. So if you're not with us, check us out. $2.50 gets Day Pass, does not get Slack Pass. Slack chat, that has to be a monthly or bigger membership. NBA is right around the corner. We have the first NBA preseason slate tomorrow. It's a Showdown 1 gamer. But this Monday, we will have a 4-game full, just regular NBA preseason slate. And with the shortened preseason last year, those guys, the starters, played a lot. It was basically like regular season. It was really, really cool, and the fields were softer. So get ready to play NBA. If you are watching us on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Podbean, on iTunes, on any other platform that I may have left out, please click that thumbs up, click that like button, do your part, support the Wise Take Nation. Joey, anything in closing you want to say?
Not much, man. Just keep getting hot, man. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep this going. Don't try and get a piece of every single game out there. I just don't feel like there's that many games out there. Like try and get your cash lineup, and then get 2 or 3 teams in there, and then maybe if you want to play more volume on those teams, go for it then. But there is a really, really good tournament on FanDuel we talked about. $35, 5 max, 800 entries. They pay the top 23%. Pretty good, guys.
That's right. It's a good tournament. So, for Patio Joe, for myself, for the entire Wise Take Nation, good luck in week 4. We are out. Peace.
Yeah.